Good evening, Baltimore, around the country and around the world. Welcome to another marvelous episode of the DMV Daily Radio broadcast. DMV Daily Radio Show on the DMV Daily Broadcast Network. I'm going to be just your host for a few minutes. Our legal eagle, Ivan Bates, will be soaring in just a minute or two. But first, as always, when we get the show started, we have to pay our respects to our fine sponsors that keeps the BG&E on in the building. So we're going to start with that. But good evening, everyone. Hope you can join us. Make sure you share this broadcast with your friends and family. Let everyone know that the DMV Daily Show is on the air today. It's going to be Thankful Thursday. We have a very special guest in our studio that we will be speaking to shortly, and all the fine work that she is doing within the community. Also, we'll be discussing some issues going on in Annapolis currently with some legislation that's being heard up in Annapolis that Ivan would like to go over with the community this evening. So don't go anywhere. Don't let me chase you away. Because you see, Jason is at the head of the mic today. But again, let me start this thing off by taking the time to pay respects to our advertisers and having some technical difficulties here because I just lost all my notes on my phone. But so I'm going to try to do most of this off of the dome. I know most of it. But the DMV Daily Radio Show is being brought to you by these fine sponsors, such as the Bates and Garcia Law Firm, specializing in bodily injury cases, medical malpractice, and right now the legal eagle is soaring into the building, so he'll take this over in a few minutes here. But again, specializing in medical malpractice, bodily injury cases, as well as car accidents. Bates and Garcia is Maryland's legal dream team. And actually they practice in several other states as well. Pennsylvania, they've handled cases in Louisiana. So if you have some legal needs, I would definitely suggest giving Bates and Garcia a call. They also specialize in criminal defense cases as well. Give them a call today, 410-814-4600. Again, that number is 410-814-4600. Let them know that the DMV Daily Radio Show referred you to the Bates and Garcia Law Firm, and they're going to hook you up with the homeboy and homegirl discount. Also, this show is being brought to you by that savvy political strategist team at Politicom Strategic Solutions, who have mastered the art of political communications and have successfully gotten folks elected since the 1970s. If you're looking to run for office in 2020, make sure you give them a call today. Their phone number is 240-242-7505. Again, their number is 240-242-7505. Now they are offering a Black History Month discount. Make sure you give them a call today. Their rates were already affordable in starting your campaign. But for the month of February, they are definitely very pro our community. And so for the month of February, they are offering a Black History Month discount. So give them a call. You could also visit them online at politicomsolutions.com. Also, if you'd like to advertise your business, product, or service with the DMV Daily Radio Show and potentially reach thousands of customers around the world, we have the analytical data to show you that we are reaching folks over in Europe. We're reaching folks throughout the United States. And are receiving thousands of hits, especially on that brand new podcast, Law and Disorder, by Ivan Bates, which is breaking DMV media network records here as far as downloads, the number of downloads is concerned. So you have the potential of reaching thousands of folks throughout the country. And currently, Ivan's podcast is reaching around the world. So it's not just a phenomenon here within the states, around the world. According to our analytical data, folks are downloading Law and Disorder. So if you have a chance also to catch that, it's available on all your podcast networks, iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, wherever you get your podcast or listen to your podcast shows. Just go on there and do a search for Law and Disorder with Ivan Bates, or search for DMV Daily News, and you should be able to see the Law and Disorder pull up as a podcast. But again, because we are reaching thousands of folks around the world, if you would potentially like to advertise your business, product, or service with the DMV Daily Radio Show, and we'll let you know exactly that it's very affordable to advertise with us. And we are also offering a Black History Month discount. The phone number to reach our advertising department is 443-294-3900. Or you can go to the DMVDaily.news website and click on Advertise with Us, and you'll be able to fill out a form, and someone from our advertising department will get back to you as soon as possible and get you set up. Also, if you're looking at starting your own podcast show or your own show, just like what you see here on the DMV Daily Radio Network, give us a call. That phone number is 443-294-3900. We had some great guests in here last night as we celebrated the Black Wall Street Awards with Be More News. Donnie Glover was here live in our studio with many great leaders within the community to receive the Joe Mans Award, which I am a recipient of a Black Wall Street Award. And I thank Donnie Glover for even considering me. That's the only award that I've ever been given in this city. So, and I'm truly proud of my Joe Mans Award that I was received. But last night we had many folks in here last night celebrating the Black Wall Street movement with Donnie Glover's, and those folks had an opportunity to check out our studios. So, and again, if you'd like to look at starting your own show, starting your own podcast, it's very affordable. It's cheaper than what you pay for your cable bill. And then we're a very hands-on production. So we're going to make sure that we get your graphics right. We'll make sure that we'll help you with your advertisers or sponsors, and getting them incorporated into your broadcast. And we're also help you with theme music and your lower thirds and any other information and production work that you may need. So we just don't have you come in and sit you behind a chair and behind a microphone and expect you to succeed. We actually help you to succeed here at the DMV Daily Podcast Network. So give us a call today, or you can send us an email if you're interested in producing a show right here on the DMV Daily Network at info@dmvdaily.news. Again, that's info@dmvdaily.news. So, folks, again, we have a great show today. It is Thankful Thursday. There's so much to be thankful for on this beautiful Valentine's Day. We have a wonderful guest in our studio. Our legal eagle has soared into the building. I'm going to turn the camera around to him, and we're going to get this show kicked off and started. Good afternoon or good evening, Attorney Bates.
Oh, good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there listening. It is I, Ivan Bates. I'm here, and I am joined today by the intelligent, the beautiful, the sophisticated, the bomb, just the amazing Summar Goodman.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you. So, you know what, I have to take a hit on this because I asked Summar, good friend of mine, we do a lot of things together, has helped me out with a lot of things. Very, very, very knowledgeable about the ins and outs of just the community work in the city, government in the city, government around the state. So I said, hey, meet me here at the studio. She's here, and then at the last second, she didn't even know that I was saying that because I needed a special guest host.
And I appreciate you being honest about how you tricked
I tricked.
She said you didn't fill out the appropriate forms.
I didn't.
I did.
Or proper request.
No, we didn't get the proper permission
I did.
or any of that.
her mic.
Oh.
I didn't do that. You know,
There we go.
Yep, you good. You good.
Okay.
I didn't do that. No, I want to say I'm sorry, but I ain't really sorry.
Sorry, not
because
sorry. Mm-hmm.
sorry, not sorry.
She
But,
been set
you
up.
know, the big thing
Pretty
is,
much, pretty
you know,
much.
we talk a lot, and you do so much in the community. And one of the things that I really realized, I've been reading a bunch of posts about Jay-Z and all the things that he does for people, and people just don't say anything. And it kind of got me to think, like, you know what? There are a lot of people who do a lot in the community, and they just don't say anything. And they're the ones who are behind the scenes to just make stuff happen. And we just really need to say thankful and thank you. So today's Thankful Thursday. Mm-hmm. So I want to officially say, one, happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
And I wanted to say thank you. And I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for all you do. Now, I can sit down and brag about you, or you can sit down and be the humble person that you are and tell us a little about some of the things you do and just introduce yourself to all the listeners.
Okay. Well, I am in public relations. I've been in the field for quite some time, and I enjoy working with anything in politics and entertainment, but my passion is really doing charity work. I work with my partner, Derek Dixon. We have Stomped the Runway for Autism, which has been going on for 4 years now. Yes. And it started because I was a model, Derek was a model. His oldest son is on the autism spectrum. Okay. I have a family member who was on the spectrum. And we just had a conversation about it. And we thought, you know, it's so many different charities going on and so many different fashion shows. Why don't we use our talent and the things that we do to raise awareness? Because at that time, we weren't finding a lot of information about African-American children with autism. So we wanted to not only give it a face, but give it some love as well and let them know that we have a community of people behind them willing to support them and to encourage them to be a part of the community, not just to feel like I'm different, I'm an outsider, but to celebrate your differences. And one thing that we started doing initially is not labeling children as being autistic. When we meet them, we say they have unique learning styles. Yes. And just the difference in language means so much as far as how they feel about themselves, how they feel about interacting with other people, because it doesn't make them feel as if they're different. Mm-hmm. And part of that goes into every time we do a show, our first scene, our opening scene, is all models who are children and their caregivers and their parents, and children who are on the spectrum and who have unique learning styles, and their parents and caregivers. That's our first segment of every show. So we give them the opportunity to model, to walk the runway and have people actually clap for them and to be superstars for a moment, to get hair and makeup, to get styled. So we want to build their confidence to know that they are a part of our community. We want them to feel like they are, you know, welcomed and not feel like they're outsiders. So this started because of our families, our situation dealing with our family members and wanting them to feel included. So we wanted all children to feel that way. So this is our fourth. We've done it for 4 years here in Baltimore. Okay. And we are so privileged. We are expanding to Atlanta. Okay. We are going to be doing Stomp the Runway for Autism, the Atlanta style on May 18th. At the Dawn Event Center. And we're going to have a model call because we are going to look for some models down in Atlanta. And I was just pleasantly surprised, knowing that this is the first time we're doing the show, to see how many models registered. We had on Saturday 335 models registered. Wow.
And how many models do you need?
We need 50 because we like to keep it going. We have about 10 designers already. So just to get that kind of reception in a town that we're we're not from, where this is the first time we're doing it. This is our inaugural event in Atlanta. This is really exciting for me. So looking forward to expanding and giving not only children here in Baltimore, but children in Atlanta a chance to shine and to be models and to see that they are included too, and they have unique learning styles. There's nothing different about them. So really excited about that.
Yeah, I remember last year, I think I've been to 2 of the fashion shows last year and this year. And I'll never forget, last year I had a friend of mine who found out her grandson was diagnosed with being on the spectrum, and she was confused. She didn't really know where to turn, and especially with African American children. And, I never forget, I just mentioned it to Derek. She was able to reach out to him, and she just talked about how Derek, you, the entire organization, have meant so much to her, and how you've given her the understanding of the support that she needs in dealing with her grandson, and that he's just unique, and that's who he is. And he's not difficult, he's just unique. And, that type of support, when you look at what's going on in the community, there's so many people that are doing so many positive things for the children and kids, and people just don't know. So for Thankful Thursday, you're our first one. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what you do in the community, and thank you for what you do for the kids.
Oh, thank you. It's, it's really nice to be appreciated. And all I can say is I'm grateful for the opportunity and the experience and being able to have the connections and the network to be able to put this together, because this is something that I wanted to do, but it was a vision that was so much bigger than me.
Okay.
And I couldn't do it by myself. And it was just kind of spontaneous. Like, it came from a conversation like, I wanted to do that too. You're thinking about that? So Derek's like, yeah, this is something I want to do. And he had some people who were at that time really encouraging him to branch out and to start doing fashion shows. So it just all just magically came together. It was just very organic in how it originated, but now it's taken on a life of its own. And we have so many people who are, part of the team, as far as we also do workshops.
Okay.
And one of the things that we do in our workshops is we try to get the parents a chance to recharge and to relax, because we know that it's a lot when you have a child and you're not sure, all of the things that come with autism, because again, it's a spectrum. So children can fall anywhere on that spectrum and can have different characteristics. So just trying to navigate that, along with navigating the education system and making sure that they are being included and getting everything that they need, because we want them to grow up to be a part of our society, to be a part of the workforce, and not feel like you have to, be in the shadows, or, they have so many talents and so many gifts. So we want them to be able to be confident enough to explore those talents and to use those gifts for our community.
Okay. Well, look, not only do you do that, but I know your daytime job is you do public relations, right?
Yes.
And you work with a number of organizations, but specifically there's an organization for Black women that you work with that are I remember you did an event with them, very supportive of one another, that are in the field to make sure that you're there supporting them. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. Last year I worked on an event with Color Vision, which is a very innovative group of young African-American women who are all in the media entertainment field, who wanted to come together to do a workshop on, one, how to get into the business, and two, how to support each other, because on a whole, there's not a lot of us in the group. So we feel like, you find another superstar, we got to support each other.
All right.
So, we don't believe in it's only room for one of us at the table.
So these are African-American sisters who are in public relations, who may be producers of television shows, morning shows, news broadcasts, things like that?
Yes, they are anchors. We had people who were behind the scenes as producers, executive producers, writers. We had some people who had branched out and started businesses. So it was a really good experience to have a collective of young African American women come together and just really show nothing but love and support for one another. Because, we have so many images on TV of us combating each other, and that's not what reality is. It's reality TV, but that's not the reality. The reality is there are a lot of young women who are doing positive things in the community, and we understand that there's room at the table for all of us, and we want all of our gifts and talents to shine. And that's just one of my beliefs. I believe that, wherever I go, I want to make room for someone to come behind me and someone to be beside me and someone else, to have an opportunity. So I don't feel selfish about anything. I'm grateful for everything I've been able to do and accomplish, and know that with that comes the great task of being able to give back and pay it forward.
Okay. So let's say I'm in high school and I am interested about public relations and things like that. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved and how you got started, and what would you tell a young sister who came up to you and wanted to be involved?
Well, my story is a little interesting because I wanted to be a doctor. Of course, I saw it on TV. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to medical school, and I got to biochem, and I was like, I think I'm more suited to be on TV. I think I have, like Martin, I have a face for the tissue. No.
You can't tell as shy as she was trying to get behind that camera today. I had to fight her.
Yes, you did. You did, because it was the setup. That was the whole thing. I like being prepared. I told him, good thing I was cute today, because I was not
you're always cute. So come on now. So I knew that.
You.
So
I was not prepared, but that's okay.
So
I'm ready.
Look, I was calling Mark, texting Mark. Mark was ghost. He ghosted me today. I was like, yo, you gonna be around? You gonna be around? Crickets. I mean, look, I understand, Mark, you down there doing your day job. I was hoping that I was able to throw you a lifeline, but you working hard in Annapolis. So I had to, yes, I don't want to say I tricked, but let's just say I had to find another host.
I thought it was Halloween. I didn't know it was Valentine's Day because I was tricked. But that's okay. It's all right. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here with all of the audience. So.
And we're talking about all this going on. So biochem was kicking your you-know-what, and then what happened?
So I moved into communications and really just fell in love with it because at the heart of everything, I'm a writer. That's my gift. That's my talent. I love writing. So I figured, hey, let me just make the most of this, and started doing internships as soon as I got into it. So I've been interning every semester since I was 18, since I went into college. So I made so many connections that way, and through interning, I was able to get my first job in TV before I graduated college, and I was really thankful for that. But in doing that, I was working behind the scenes as well as working on camera for some community affairs programming, and I kind of like being behind the scenes a little bit better. And then when I found out, the starting salary for a news reporter, and you have to set up your own camera and do all that, I was like, she's not doing that. So, PR might be a better option for me. So
I definitely understand.
And I'm the kind of person that I'm just, I guess the best way to describe it is a natural cheerleader. I love to see people win. I believe, if it's any way I can help you, I will. So PR is just a natural fit for me because I like being able to help other people bring the best out of themselves and to explore all the good things that they have going on too. So that's one of my gifts. I like to bring the gift and the talent and the specialness, so to speak, out of other people.
So I want to play a little game with you right up here.
Okay.
So you're in PR, and this is how would you handle a situation with certain things that are going on in the news right now?
Oh.
Okay? All right? Let
me just preface this by saying I am a publicist, so I will give you a PR answer.
I understand.
I am not getting controversial.
Look, I understand.
Okay.
Now, with all that we have going on in the city with the hot crime and the violence and everything, we have this new police commissioner. He's going around to the 9 districts in the city and he's talking to people. If you were the mayor's press person, would you advise that this is a good thing, a bad thing? Are you happy in terms of seeing the rollout? And how can he become more involved in the fabric of the community at this early stage?
At this early stage, because it's only, 2 or 3 days now?
Yes.
I do like that he's doing the forums in the community and actually talking to people and getting a feel for what the issues are, because I think you can't really tackle an issue if you don't know exactly what it is. Yeah. And as far as leadership is concerned, so many people like to just come in and throw their weight around and just make change without evaluating the current situation. So I really do like the fact that he's going around and talking to the community, introducing himself and allowing them to speak freely about some of the issues that they're having, so that he can have a thorough knowledge of how to tackle the problem and address it quickly. Some of the feedback that I saw was, one, that he was very transparent. That's what some people have said to me. And 2, some other people have said, well, we see that he's here, but we want to see results. So that'll only come in time. But the main thing is he's working to establish a relationship, and in public relations, it's all about having a relationship. So coming in and starting to have a relationship with the people, I think that's going to get them on his side and help him be able to do his job better. So I think that's a great start.
Okay. So good PR move.
Absolutely. Instead of just coming in and bulldozing your way in, making your way to the people and going to who needs you first.
Well, let's go to the next one that, to me, on the outside looking in, there are 2 that haven't had the greatest PR start or PR week. Let's talk about the Johns Hopkins University push for the police officers, have their own police force. If you were advising them, what are some of the things that you would tell them in terms of trying to quell or quench some of the fears that the community has?
Again, I think probably taking the same approach as the new police commissioner, because it seems like they haven't gotten enough information from the community and the community doesn't feel heard.
Okay.
And whenever you're doing a project, you want to make sure that you are adequately addressing the issue and your audience, but you want to make sure that your audience has that buy-in. They feel like they're a part of the process. And I think it's the miscommunication is where people feel like they are being affected by some of the decisions that are being made, but not consulted.
Okay.
And that can be in personal relationships or in professional relationships, when people feel like decisions are being made for them without consulting them. That's where you kind of get the pushback. So, I think, again, that's a good move to probably get more buy-in by trying to find out what exactly is needed or wanted from the community and before moving forward, so you can have some more support, because right now it's just too many people on too many different sides with too many different things, and it's like nobody's really being heard at this point.
Okay. All right. Now here's the next one we're going to talk about, the school, arming the school police.
Oh, wow.
Last month, if I'm not mistaken, the school board voted 12-0 not to do it. Then all of a sudden we have an incident where a young man comes in Douglas High School and he shoots one of the teacher's aides. I believe the gentleman's a teacher's aide. And now all of a sudden the school board wants to potentially talk about it all over again. If you were advising the school board, they're kind of looking like they're flip-flopping. Do you think this is a good thing to look at it again after this incident? From a PR standpoint, strictly, and we recognize that you're not advising anybody. I'm just kind of curious from a PR standpoint, because what I'm looking at as a citizen is different than other people look at. And the one thing I can say, this is a hotly contested issue.
Very much so. People feel very strongly on both sides about this issue. And I know that the school board came to their decision, but I think at this point, tensions are high, emotions are high, and the one thing you don't want to do is act out of emotion. Yeah. I want to send out all best wishes to everyone involved in this situation, because it's a really bad situation. Yeah. For the victim, for the students of the schools, and for the students who are in Baltimore City Public Schools who might be feeling like maybe it could be my school. And I think those are the core issues that need to be addressed.
Okay.
The school's actually been affected because they've closed the school down again another day.
Right, because a lot of the teachers don't feel safe. Yeah. And you can't be effective if you don't feel safe. Yeah. No matter where you are.
Yep.
And that's the core issue. And again, you have to address the emotion, but not be emotional in your decision and make a hasty decision. So I just hope to see this come to a resolution pretty quickly in a way where everyone can be safe in the schools, and we can get back to a place where school is for learning and we don't have to worry about all of these, extra things. I remember when I was in school not that long ago, we had some issues, but nothing like today. And I couldn't imagine the stress that these kids have to go through.
Yeah, there's an op-ed that was written by, in today's Baltimore Sun, written by a teacher. And it was a very well-written op-ed that made you sit down and think. And, I mean, the students and the kids growing up now, they're just in a different world than when we grew up with. It's interesting because I think a lot of them just feel on their own, and it's, hey, I got to survive by any means necessary. And, it's very sad. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you one more. This is the big one.
Okay.
Now, you're born and raised in Baltimore, right?
Yes.
All right. East side, west side?
East side.
East side, certified. So, Baltimore, when you go outside of Baltimore City, unfortunately, our city does appear to have an image problem. Mm-hmm. So, if you were advising Baltimore City, the city, what would you tell them was one of the first things they need to do to change the image nationally?
Oh, that is a big question. That is a big one.
So you ain't know that, like...
Yeah. Again, the setup. So, every time I travel and I say that I'm from Baltimore, and I'm sure other people get this, people say, is that The Wire? That's the first thing that comes. And don't get me wrong, I watch The Wire. I love The Wire. But Baltimore is known for so many other things. So many great people have come out of here. We have so much talent in this city. And I think at this point, we probably need to pivot and focus more on the great art that comes out of here, the great talent that has come in the past and that is here right now, because we have so many. This city has so many jewels and wonderful things going on that people would never ever know about because they just focus on the negative. So we have to find a way to accentuate the positive, and that's with every situation. Just accentuate all the positive work that's going on in the community right now. I know
with you and your group.
Thank you. And as I was going to say, like with you and a lot of things that you're doing in the community, helping students get involved in the law profession and doing mock trials and doing book bag giveaways, some of those things that you do. And again, you are one of those people that do a lot of things in the community, but you never say it. And being your friend, I can say it, but you do so much for people in the community, but you are just very humble, which I appreciate. But people would never know all the things that you do and how great a person you are.
I try to be. But we ain't going to make this about me today. We make it about you today.
Did you see how I just switched that, right?
I did. I was like, oh.
See, I'm good at what I do.
Yeah, you're very good at it. You flipped it on me. Nah. It's interesting. When you look, Baltimore and Baltimore's image, is it this type of city that we can get the financial investors to invest so that we can make sure that the students can really have the things that they need? I mean, there's so many questions that you have to look at and so many things. Now, when you sit, let's talk about some of the politics and everything, all right? Just some of the local politics and all. You've had the opportunity, I think, to work with, just kind of dibble and dabble and just kind of see what happens with people's campaigns. Mm-hmm. Is there any one race or any one election that you remember kind of growing up that kind of made you feel like, yeah, that's something I want to be involved in? Could have been something from Kurt Schmoke when he ran to, but you were probably like 2 then, to Sheila Dixon, to Stephanie Rollins Blake, to Mayor Pugh. Anyone who ran like that. Could have been someone who inspired you, like Marilyn Mosby when she ran for state's attorney against Greg Bernstein. It could have been so many things and so many different elections and races. And we definitely not talking about anything involving me. This is something involving you, okay?
Okay. For me, what inspired me was the Obama campaign.
Okay.
How the first one just was so revolutionary in how they utilized social media. Because that's how it reached me, through social media, and how people shared the information, and it was very much a grassroots kind of effort. And I think that's what really drew me in, seeing how they use social media so effectively when people were using social media at that time, but not on that scale, not like making a person who was a politician who was not known outside of his area relatable to someone here in Baltimore. He was from Chicago, but the way they utilized social media, he felt like someone you knew. He was relatable. The videos, everything that they did was just so effective. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a really good campaign. So that was something that really worked for me.
Wow. Okay. We have a caller on line 1. Hello.
Yeah, we have a caller on line 1, which reminds me this program is being brought to you by SEIU Local 500, where their motto is "Together We Rise." Is not just their slogan, but their actual belief. And we have the union bosses of all bosses on the line right now. Mark, you there, Mark?
Well-a-tee.
Hey, my brother, how are you?
Hello.
Happy Thursday. How are you?
Good.
We have a new slogan. We're not Together We're Rising anymore. We're making Maryland work for working families. Okay? Great. Please make a note of it.
Okay.
Duly noted.
Brandon PR. So today is Thankful Thursday. We're sitting up here today with Summar Goodman, and I'm just thanking the work that she does. But also, let's talk about you, Mark. Now you're here. Let's talk about this.
And let me wish you a happy Valentine's Day.
You too, Summer.
Thank
I
you.
haven't met you yet, but I hope you Valentine's Day.
So one of the things that's very important is politics, and that's really what the heart and soul of this show talks about, politics. So let's just talk a little bit about Mark. All right. Mark has been involved in politics for what, 25, almost 30 years, Mark?
Yeah. And I'm only 29, so
he started young. And I think it's important that people understand and know that, as a political director for a union, a union that has the support of so many working individuals in the state of Maryland, but not just in the state of Maryland, but around the country, to have that position and to be an African American, that says a lot. You have the opportunity to really make and shift the dynamic of what's happening in this country, to get behind people, a number of African American candidates, a number of female candidates, a number of candidates from all different backgrounds, and to really help to work and fight and change the narrative in this country so that you represent your constituents. And I don't think enough people really understand just how few, one, African Americans that hold those types of positions. And so we're thanking you, Mark, for what you do for the people out here in the community, because you're definitely the back behind everybody.
There aren't nearly enough of us. You're right about that.
Yeah, well, definitely. Now, let's talk about your day job. You're down there in Annapolis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on down there today?
Well, so there are a couple of interesting things that are going on. Of course, the percolating issues are, of course, the fight for 15. We've had our House hearing. We'll have the Senate hearing, I believe, next week. And we had an interesting hearing on paid family medical leave. So, as most people know, there's a FMLA, a Federal Family and Medical Leave Act, which basically is unpaid leave if you have a catastrophic event that happens within your family. You can access paid leave, but it's unpaid leave, so it's kind of like, wow, thanks for making sure I still have my job, but what do you suggest that I do in the next month or 2 or 3 months while I need to be off? How does my family survive? And so one of the things that we've put forward this session is a paid family and medical leave act, which would basically, it's an assessment of 0.46% of your salary. It's a payroll tax that will be levied. That will mean that folks can get up to, I think, 12 weeks of paid leave, and it basically kind of creates an insurance pool, just like large employers have sick leave banks where you kind of contribute sick leave to this pool, and if one of your colleagues has to take off, then they kind of access that bank through the, it's just like an insurance pool, but it's a leave pool that would be created. And so it would mean that, that if you have a catastrophic event in your family, you're able to access leave and keep your job and actually keep your family on sound fiscal footing. One of the things that the federal shutdown placed into pretty clear relief, especially in Maryland, that's so dependent on the federal government, is that most of us are living paycheck to paycheck in some fashion or form. And so that might mean that if I don't get paid, if you find out Wednesday that you don't get paid Friday, most people could gut it out for another 2 weeks, but some folks can't,
Mm-hmm.
and those that can gut it out another 2 weeks, they couldn't gut it out another 4 weeks, and so this is what happened with the federal employees, and I would argue that federal employees are probably, in most cities, are better able to forego having a paycheck for 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks than the average worker in that city. And so when we saw that when the federal government shut down just for 6 weeks, the accessing of emergency food stamps and food bank attendance and all kinds of emergency kind of safety net program utilization skyrocketed up. These were all federal employees who had what we would refer to as good government jobs that found themselves, at the brink of absolute family disaster. And so family and medical leave is one of the things that we are working toward addressing for families that are in trouble. And one of the things that it's important to understand is that SEIU as a union, we advocate for things in the interests of working families, regardless of whether there are members or not. The Fight for 15 does not really include my members because I don't really have any members that make less than $15 an hour. But what I do have is members that's husband or spouse or nieces or nephews or mothers or fathers make less than $15 an hour, so that they recognize that they have a stake in this fight too. One of the things that we have got to get away from in the labor movement is only having a parochial point of view, that anything that doesn't impact my contracts doesn't matter. Well, it certainly does, and we SEIU, I'm proud to say, has been on the front lines of the battle to abolish the death penalty in Maryland and to secure civil marriage for LGBTQ Marylanders, and on a whole host of other issues that maybe don't directly impact our workplaces, other than obviously impacting our workers, but that are just as important in building an environment that's hospitable to working families in the state.
Wow. All right. Who's the bill sponsor?
Delegate Ariana Kelly from Montgomery County is the sponsor of Paid Family Medical Leave Act. We had the House hearing yesterday, and we have the Senate hearing next week.
Okay.
So these are the kind of next steps.
Okay.
And
how do you think
in
it's
Maryland in pushing the ball forward.
How do you think it's going to go? You think it has an opportunity, a chance of passing?
Sure. I mean, I think passage isn't as assured as I think the Fight for 15 is, but it certainly is. I think it's the next generation of legislation that's intended to help working families. And I think even if it doesn't pass this year, I think we certainly have laid, as you would say, Counselor, we've laid a predicate for why it needs to happen next.
I understand. Let's talk about something that's really been buzzing, I guess, the last couple of days. The Johns Hopkins police force. Are they talking about that down there?
Well, that's really so. This is a very interesting thing. I mean, my initial thoughts around this were that Hopkins was going to dump a bunch of money into this, and that as with most things that Hopkins wants, especially in this city, Hopkins was going to get. Mike Bloomberg came to Annapolis to lobby for this. The big booster of Johns Hopkins, standing there with the Attorney General of the state of Maryland, Brian Frosch, and talking about the importance of this. The great and powerful Oz Mike Miller was active on this issue and pushing on this issue. And to my everlasting shame, even my good Judy girlfriend, Catherine Elizabeth Pugh, has been out in front of pushing this to get done, and in fact has been, calling in senators and kind of buttonholing them down at City Hall to say, we need you to pass this, we need to pass this, this needs to happen. And so, I was committed to fighting the good fight, but in the back of my mind, I felt like it was more likely than not that we would lose. But I really, over the last 2 weeks or so, and mostly because of the heroic work of, SEIU has not been, the prime mover on this. This has been an organic movement that sprung up on campus and in the surrounding neighborhoods. Community associations surrounding Hopkins have voted no. Can you imagine the specter of neighborhood associations, which basically are comprised of homeowners in these neighborhoods, are saying, we don't want any more police in our neighborhoods, which is astounding. Usually you think of neighborhood associations as, being devoted to NIMBY, not in my backyard, and give us some more police. But they are saying, no, we don't want Hopkins to have this police force. And perhaps most heroically, the students. There's a group called Students Against Private Police that has sprung up organically on the Johns Hopkins campus that have been all over this issue, like stink on. And it's been really amazing to see the kind of grassroots. It's really restored my faith in many respects in this city. There's been a grassroots movement to bring this to a halt. And as we were talking yesterday, we talked about our good friend Senator Bill Ferguson from the 46th Legislative District and how pivotal his vote was going to be. Well, the senator announced today that he is recusing himself from voting on the Hopkins bill. You, me, why? Jesus, Paul, and all the apostles know that if he could vote, he would vote yes. The fact that he's decided that he's not voting is a great get for us, and now we're just kind of waiting to hear from our friends Antonio Hayes and Corey McCrae. My suspicion is that Corey leans no. He was a hard no last year, and when we had him on the show, he said, I'm not a hard no anymore, but I've got grave concerns. And grave concerns usually means you got to give me some huge amendments or I'm a no. And Antonio has been, the sphinx on this subject, so we'll have to continue to follow up with him. But, Mary Washington and Jill Carter have been, and the women are leading the way on the Baltimore City delegation. Jill Carter and Mary Washington have been forthrightly and vocally opposed. Poor Shirley Nathan Pulliam, which, I'm not even sure she deserves a vote. She only has a third of the city. A third of her district is in the city, so she should get a third of a vote, but that's my opinion. Shirley seems to be a wobbly yes, but I just, I've looked at this, and I've been counting votes in Annapolis a long time, unless a last-minute deal is cut on behalf of Hopkins or leadership steps in a much more invigorated way than they have. I think this Hopkins security, I don't want to pronounce it dead yet, but it certainly has a death rattle to it.
Wow, so it definitely looks like it got smacked up his head pretty hard, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mark, what about...
It renews my faith in the fact that, like Hopkins, who has an unlimited lobbying budget and is one of the largest employers in the city,
Right.
if a group of, ragtag, it reminds me of a Les Miserables episode, if a group of ragtag, members of the great unwashed masses of the public can rise up and stop an initiative in Baltimore from the Johns Hopkins organization, then anything is possible.
Mark, what about, have you heard anything about the water bill? I know they're coming to, I believe, the third reader or final vote tomorrow in committee on the water bill hearing.
I need to check in with Mary about that. I know that the concern was that there were some amendments from the mayor's office that were problematic, and I don't know if those amendments got adopted in committee or not.
Right.
So I would ask the family to check back with me tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have an answer. I don't know where that is. I know a bill moved forward, but as with most things, the devil is in the details. If that bill has the bad amendments, then that's bad. If it doesn't, then the fact that it's moving forward is good, and I just don't have the answer.
So where are we in the fight for 15? Still looking good?
Oh yeah. We had our House hearing that went on for I think 8 hours, 12:30 to 8:30 on Friday, and I think next week is the Senate hearing. I think the die has been cast on this issue. We've heard this bill. This will be, I think, the fourth year in a row, and I think, in many respects, the business community, by being so opposed to this, is getting a worse deal than they would have gotten 3 years ago. 3 years ago, there were all kinds of exemptions and carve-outs for small businesses, for youth, for tip credit, it was a much weaker bill 3 years ago. But as we have built strength, and this is one of the Fight for 15, I think, is one of the prime illustrations of the fact that elections have consequences. The Hopkins bill, too. If we were dealing with the old delegations in Baltimore City, the Hopkins bill would have passed a month ago. But we, as political operatives, went in and we changed the map. Nat Oakes went off to the federal Hooskow, and in comes Jill Carter. Nat McFadden goes down to defeat in East Baltimore, and here comes Corey McCrae. Barbara Robinson wanders off the reservation, and in comes Antonio Hayes. These are, and most importantly, thank God, Jesus, and all the apostles, Senator Joan Carter Conway finds something else to do, and it's curb stomped in Northeast Baltimore, and in comes Mary Washington, who has led the charge against Hopkins. And so I use that to illustrate the point that I know folks are tired of politics. I mean, look, I'm a political junkie. I love politics. I'm always going to do politics. Even if nobody likes politics, I'm still going to want to do politics. But I know that there are some people that are frustrated with the pace of change in the city. But I would say, look to the fact that when you get involved, you don't win every battle, but when you get involved, you change the map. I mean, if you look at the city council, we got rid of Pete Welch, and who'd we get? Shannon Sneed. She's amazing. We got rid of Helen Holton, thank God, and here comes Christopher Burnett. We got rid of Pete Welch, and here comes John Bullock. I would just encourage, kind of the people that listen and the people in Baltimore is to, stay tuned, stay patient, but get involved and get active, because these electoral campaigns result in real changes in policies that impact people. I think sometimes we get caught up in the personalities of, I like Corey and I don't like Mac, or Jones and Mary's a good person, so I'll be with Mary. But at the end of the day, it's really not about them. It's about decisions that get made in Baltimore City and Annapolis that absolutely impact the lives of everyday Baltimoreans. And, like the old saying says, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about Baltimore City and the city council. And, other day a friend showed me an invitation to a fundraiser for Mr. Bilal Ali. Is my understanding he's having a fundraiser. Do you know anything about that? Have you heard anything?
Shut your mouth and keep on talking. Bilal's fundraising?
Yeah.
Ooh, Bilal might be challenging Yitzi. Oh, that would be.
No, I mean, doesn't he live in Barnett's? I thought he lived in Christopher Barnett's district.
I'm getting ready to hang up on you and call Bilal. That's for me, Ivan. One
of my friends kind of pulled me up and showed me something. I was like, really? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So
that would be bad news for Christopher Irvin because.
I think Bilal's in the 8th district, though, isn't he? And over there in Christopher Burnett's district. I think that's where he lives.
He's. I believe that Bilal lives in Yitzi's district, which is the 5th, I believe, and the 5th is kind of northwest Baltimore, which overlaps with 41.
I know when he was delegate, I used to see him all the time in Irvington. I used to see him all the time over there by Catonsville was part of his community. Yeah. So I used to see him in that section of town.
Wow.
I didn't see him over by as far up as Park Heights and up in that area.
Well, yeah, Park. That's where he. I mean, if judging by the campaign signs. If you go straight out Route 40, them green Bilal Ali signs were all over. In fact, the West Side Shopping Center is kind of the center of that.
Yeah, that's why I say I think that's Christopher Burnett over there, Southwest.
Right. But,
so then that would mean that maybe he'd face.
But if you go to the north, then you start to take in the 5th. It's kind of Park Heights, and then it comes over to just east of the West Side Shopping Center. So the two biggest early vote precincts for the 5th and for the 41st are the West Side Shopping Center and the Public Safety and Training Center on Northern Parkway and whatever that is. So I'm almost sure that Bilal lives in Yitzi's district. It certainly isn't, he's not, unless maybe he's in Reisinger's, which is kind of southwest Baltimore, but that doesn't include 41, and he was a delegate in 41. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure that it's either Yitzi or Ed Reisinger. Well, I hope it's Yitzi because I already have a candidate I like in Reisinger's district.
Well, all right, let's talk about the candidate in Reisinger's district because my understanding is Reisinger is getting ready to retire, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Well, it couldn't come a moment too soon. He's about 97 and a half, so it's time for him to go to the great city council chamber. Not in the sky, I won't say that, but the great city council chamber away from the city council chamber. And so there's some good candidates. I know we've got, I believe, Richard Parker, who's an AFSCME official, who's kind of Glenn's right hand. Glenn Middleton in AFSCME 67. Then you've got Felicia Porter, who is a Democratic Central Committee member in 40, and she's interesting. She's kind of a healthcare kind of expert, policy expert, and has been very active in her community. Ran a very energetic race for the Democratic Central Committee and was elected. Is very associated with the Antonio Hayes faction of the party in West Baltimore. And then you've got this guy Raekwon Conaway that I saw announced, and I wanted to ask. I don't know if he's any relation to the Conways, but yeah. So there's at least 3 candidates that I know of in that 10th. So if Bilal were to get in, if he lives in 10, I'm almost sure he lives in 5. But if he lives in 10, then that would be. I think that could be a game changer. If he gets it in 5, that would be a game changer because I think that, I like Christopher a lot, but I think he'd have a hard time beating Bilal in a primary. I mean, Bilal is especially after he just, he didn't win for delegate, but that was because, again, the Orthodox Jewish community in Park Heights gets together and decides who their candidate is, and they come down and bestow their votes upon that candidate en bloc. The black folks aren't organized to that degree. So you had, 12 people running in that race that couldn't win, but they took enough from Bilal so that he didn't win either.
Yeah.
You had Tessa Hill Aston and the guy from Langston Hughes Community Center, all them folks running. They didn't have a prayer in hell of winning, but it's like a vanity run. I run for office because I like to see my name on the ballot. I don't have a lot of respect for that. Wow. But so, if Bilal had a one-on-one shot against Yitzi knows he'd be in trouble.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Wow, I don't. You know what? I don't know about that one because I've heard some people, like him. Some people don't like him. When I was campaigning, I did a lot over there in Mount Washington, and I'll never forget when I first got over there. He had a lot of support in Mount Washington. Yitzi did. He'd done a lot of work out there.
Well, those are the areas. If you'll remember, I mean. One thing we have to just acknowledge the uncomfortable truth is that that's a racially divided district. And so Mount Washington and Park Heights is much more white than black. And so those are going to be areas of strength for Yitzi. But the other black areas of the district, I mean, I'm sure Yitzi is probably pretty popular in Roland Park too, because those are more racially mixed, at least, in probably majority white neighborhoods. But 41, especially in the Democratic primary, is majority African American. And so in a one-on-one race, kind of the white guy is always going to be at a disadvantage in the fifth. But now, maybe Bilal has enough enemies in the black community that he gets enough folks to cross over, that Yitzi gets enough folks to cross over and vote for him, and so he wins anyway. But I think that Yitzi is smart enough to know that a one-on-one race against basically anybody who has the money, and Yitzi will have, and Bilal will have
a lot of money.
One-on-one race against anyone who has money, especially an African-American candidate, is trouble for Yitzi. He may still win, but he's going to have to fight like a dog for it.
But then we also saw the young lady Paris. She announced the other day over there.
I think she's making a mistake.
So Paris announced. And who else is potentially announcing over there?
In one,
one.
I think it's just, as far as I've heard, the waiting game is to see if Zeke is going to run for city council president and run for mayor. My feeling was always that Paris announced because she was trying to get the jump on the field with the assumption that Zeke was not going to run for re-election. He was going to run for city council and mayor. But now my latest information is that she's running regardless, and she thinks she can beat Zeke. And, I like Paris. I've been impressed with her. I think she has a bright future. But if she thinks she's going to beat Zeke Cohen one-on-one in a primary, there may be a profile of a candidate that can beat Zeke Cohen in the first, but it's not Paris. Paris is going to appeal to the same folks that Zeke does. If you have some rich business guy like, some rich business guy that had $1 million that wanted to drop it on a primary, then maybe you can beat Zeke. But, Paris is going to run the same kind of people-powered, grassroots, granola crunchy kind of campaign that Zeke does. Like, there's a path to beating Zeke, perhaps, but she ain't got it.
Well, let me ask you this. In reference to deciding when you want to run a citywide election, right? Whether it's president of city council, whether it's mayor, when is the time period you think we're going to begin to hear some of the candidates make up their true mind about what they want to do?
Well, normally the rule of thumb is if you're running citywide, you need to be announced a year before. And so that would mean, in the next 2 months, people are definitely, the people that are running, are thinking about running, have been making the rounds already. If you saw Zeke's fundraising was pretty aggressive, he doesn't need to raise quite that aggressively as an incumbent in one. He's raising money as if he's doing something other than running for re-election. And I think you see certainly Catherine Pugh has been raising money like she is running for re-election. And so the fundraising starts now, but usually the formal announcements are about a year out. So we're in February. The election is in April. I think folks have got, 30, maximum 60 days before people are going to have to make an announcement, or they're going to have to, or they're not going to be taken seriously anymore. You need at least a year to build a citywide campaign.
Okay.
Although, I have to tell you, you're going to love this. I got 3 calls yesterday, Ivan, from people saying that Theroux is thinking about jumping in for mayor.
Yeah, I know.
Credible people. People.
Well, yeah, I'd heard that he'd reached out to a number of the business community to see if he could get their support. And
LaRue would get beaten like an Alabama mule at Pimlico on Preakness Day. I hope he does run. I might do that race for free. You hear me?
Summer, what do you feel about LaRue jumping the race for mayor?
I've been hearing buzz around town, so I think it would make for quite an interesting race.
Ooh-wee. I think it would.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
I think it would. Well, then I guess my question is like, come on, man. Did you really run for state's attorney because you wanted to make a change, or did you run for state's attorney to get your name out there? But hey, I can tell you one person ain't running for mayor of Baltimore City. I can tell you that for certain.
That's right. Dr. Lana has put the kibosh.
Oh, shame. Well, you know what? I didn't even need Dr. Lana to do that because you know what? I can tell you, I'm the base ain't interested.
I ain't gonna raise these daggone kids by myself, Negro. You better get back to this house.
You know what?
Yes, Dr. Lana.
Look, I wanted to be state's attorney. I didn't want to be mayor. I don't know nothing about being a mayor, but I do know about being a lawyer.
Run, Ivan, run.
Yes.
Mark.
I ain't worried about me doing that.
Mark, hang on. We have one caller.
Okay. Maybe it's Bilal. Bilal, is that
you? Maybe it's LaRue. Caller, you there?
Yes, this is Faru Vignaraja.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
And I'd like to make my announcement officially on the show since y'all like to talk about me so much.
It's Mr. Politics himself.
My guy.
politics?
Man, y'all keep talking about that, man. He gonna run down on y'all ass if that courthouse is up. I'm telling you.
Let me tell you something. One thing I ain't afraid of is that little man. That's all I got to say.
Look, LaRue better be careful because the only thing that keeps Ivan from scooping him up is he's keeping his good legal name. Now, if he could legitimately claim self-defense and LaRue jumped on him, I think you might be a whole different Ivan.
That'd be a different Ivan. You got to remember. Look, some days.
Remember, his PR person's here. So.
Yeah. So we, you know what? So we keeping it cool right now. You know. Well, let's just say, good to hear from you, Mr. Politics.
This is what I will
well,
say.
Check this out.
I believe that if Ivan Bates was physically accosted by Faru Vignaraja, he would mount a vigorous defense of himself. That's what I will say.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You say that?
Yes, I agree. Don't start none, don't want none.
Well, I'm going to put my money on Faru. I got to go on a long shot there. You know, I'm a gambling man, so I'm trying to get more money out of it.
Oh, I forgot to tell you.
Just don't be too bad. That's all I'm asking.
Speaking of where your money is, I saw Brandon down in Annapolis yesterday, and he said he ain't heard you talk basketball in at least a month.
Oh. Now, you know we already had our money on Brandon. That's easy money.
I bet you're packing.
Y'all going to lose y'all money. Speaking of seeing people downtown, I saw Council President Jack Young the past couple of days downtown at City Hall, who he must listen to this show faithfully because he got upset about Mayor Dixon dropping in and putting them on blast for some of the stuff that they did in terms of the money. Then he also said that he got something for little Zeke Cohen if he thinks about running, or little Brandon Scott if they think about running against him, that he is definitely running for council president. There ain't no retirement, ain't none of that in the works. He is running, and he dares any of those chumps on the council to come after him. He got something for him. Straight like
Lord,
that. I ain't never heard Jack like that. That was the East Baltimore Jack.
Wow.
You wait until I can get that wire from out of Kahan's neck brace and download what's on it, okay?
Oh my goodness, you got my stomach hurting.
Woo, boy. So it seems like, you know, when y'all two out there in Annapolis and City Hall, y'all hearing all the information. What's going on?
Did you talk about did y'all talk about the tidbit about Ferguson?
Yeah, about him recusing himself.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think that's about? He just he felt like he couldn't be fair with it, or he just felt he didn't want, this is something that he needed to step away. I mean, try
So
to
the
help
ethics
listen.
committee,
Yeah.
the ethics ruling came back and said that he could not. I didn't
Okay.
really think that would really directly impact him because I didn't think it would give him a financial advantage in any way. But apparently the ethics report came back according to what was sent to me today by one of the faithful listeners, Bobby, from his chief of staff, that said that he had to recuse himself because of that.
Well,
so that leaves 5.
Yeah, I think the advice that the ethics
Where you going?
commission gives you really isn't that you can't, it's that you really shouldn't. He could vote if he wanted to. He could be brought up on ethics charges, but he could vote if he wanted to. I think what this means in reading the tea leaves is I think he thinks it's going down anyway, because for him to announce before the vote that he's not voting when he could possibly be, the difference between it winning or losing tells me that he thinks it's gone anyway. Because otherwise, trust me, if it was 3-3 and he was the 7th vote, I have a hard time if he thought that's what it was, then I have a hard time believing that he would recuse. I think he's recused because it's an easy way to not piss Hopkins off, but to not be on the losing side of a Baltimore City vote.
And that could be true because this came fairly easy. I mean, typically they don't respond to constituent requests this openly and this quickly. So I can agree with you on that.
And this far before a vote. Yeah, no, absolutely.
But
this is his way of saying I'm out of it.
I think Hopkins and Bloomberg in particular are giving Mike Miller enough money that he's going to, even if the delegation doesn't vote in favor of it, I would not be surprised if he puts the bill on the floor anyway to get passed, even though it's jurisdictional courtesy most of the time. I think that he'll still say, you know what, we know what's best for Baltimore, even if they don't. And since the House probably will pass it through their delegation, even if the Senate's divided, they're going to give him quite a bit of money, and he's going to have to perform. He's going to have to act, and so I wouldn't be surprised at all. Delegation voted against him.
Well, but given his status with his health, I honestly don't think I think Mike Miller is concentrated with every fiber of his being on trying to stay alive. I do not think he wants to risk his political capital on what will be an absolute, make no mistake, if he takes an issue like this to the floor over the objections of the Senate delegation from the local jurisdiction, there will be a bloodbath on the floor of the Maryland Senate. I don't think that he's prepared to preside over that kind of a debate, aside from the fact that other folks, if you bring it to the floor, you better have the majority of the Democratic caucus with you. And there are many Democratic caucus members, progressive from Montgomery County and from other places, that will say, wait a minute, I don't want to do this because I don't want it imposed on me. I think even if he overrode the objections of the Senate delegation and brought it to the floor, I'm not sure he's got 24 votes anyway.
Well, check this out. Mike Miller, people sleep on Mike Miller. And
I don't think anyone
is a masterful genius when it comes to, and better than anybody, that if he does override the delegation and brings it to the floor, he already has his votes counted in his pocket and well over.
No, well, but see, this is the thing, though. As you know, once you're a lame duck, people that used to, I saw it when I worked for Senator Mikulski. Everybody was Senator Mikulski. They would give her pedicures in the street during Fells Point. Once she announced she was retiring, she couldn't get a glass of water from a homeless person. People, no matter how long they've been scared of you or subservient to you, once they get the sense that your gig is up, they don't give a damn anymore. Mike Miller does not have the power that he used to have because everybody's already jockeying to succeed him.
But that's
it's like the whole Machiavellian, they feared and respected.
But here's the thing, that's why I would think that they would, because now they are jockeying, and Mike Miller still has people in places, in high places, that can help whoever he wants get his seat once he leaves.
See, I don't think that's with the last elections, and this is one of the things that's changed for Mike Miller, is that, if you'll remember, when Tommy Bromwell came and tried to unseat him as Senate president, he had senators standing in the door with the shotgun saying, you're going to have to go through me. all the people that would stand in the door with a shotgun protecting Mike Miller are gone. Joan is
but
gone.
He's still the
Matt
Senate
is
president.
gone.
As much as
Case
y'all
Fine
went
is
after
gone.
all his allies, he's still the Senate president. So that should show
Yeah.
you can't.
If he's
don't
not
don't try to mess with Mike.
The point I'm making is if he's not Senate president anymore, nobody is going to be swayed by what he thinks as to who his successor is. No, it doesn't matter.
He is Senate president now. He's going to trust and believe he's going to make the deal for whoever succeeds him before he leaves. I can guarantee you that.
I don't think but to make a deal, you have to have something to work with. He doesn't have any.
He still have over $1 million. I mean, come on, man. And he's
but you
can't. You know
he
what?
can only give it to people at $6,000.
I got one thing to say, fellas.
I think you're over.
It's Valentine's Day and it's 6:31. I got to go see Dr. Lana Bates. But we can finish this discussion tomorrow on Thankful Thursday. Want to thank my very special guest, Summar Goodman.
Thank you, Summar.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to producer Jason, Hassan, Mark, myself, Ivan Bates. Thank you. Everybody have a safe, enjoyable Valentine's Day. And God bless. Free Keith Davis.